Did you know? A 70-year-old woman once completed 7 marathons in 7 days, across all 7 continents. Chow Smith was always an avid runner, and, in 2017, she decided that for her 70th birthday, she would complete 7 marathons in 1 week across all of the continents. Dogs like squeaky toys for a dark reason. Because dogs are descendants of wolves whose instincts include hunting smaller animals. The sound a squeaky toy makes is very similar to the sound a small animal makes when being hunted. Sweat doesn't actually stink. Sweat on your arms and legs doesn't smell as much as your armpits. That's because sweat glands in your armpits secrete more protein into a dark, damp environment, the perfect place and food for bacteria. The bacteria on your skin that breaks the sweat down that causes the odor. A tick bite can make you allergic to red meat. Some people who get bitten by the Lone Star tick can develop a sudden allergy to red meat. Beef, lamb, and pork, which are technically classified as red meat, can make people with this allergy experience headaches, sneezing, a runny nose, and nausea. Apple pie isn't actually American. Apples originally come from Asia. The first pies were baked in medieval Europe. Even the concept of putting apples in pie traces back to a recipe from England in 1381. Babies are physical anomalies. When they are born, their heads account for 1/4 of their full body weight, and the size of their brains will double in the first year of life. Babies have 300 bones and around 10,000 taste buds all over their mouth. Most people break up on Mondays. Lee Byron and David McCandless found that relationship statuses change for the worse 2 weeks before Christmas, around Easter, and on Mondays. Though this data may be somewhat misleading, as people might not be live updating their breakups, it shows an obvious trend. You can sneeze faster than a cheetah can run. Clocking in at 100 miles per hour, we can sneeze faster than cheetahs run, 4.5 times faster than Usain Bolt's record, and 20 times faster than Michael Phelps. Your liver can regrow itself in 3 weeks. According to Greek mythology, the Titan was punished by having an eagle eat his liver day after day. The liver would regrow at night, leaving Prometheus at the bird's mercy. The regenerative properties of this story are partially true. Doctors have found that the liver can regrow in 3 weeks, not 1 day. Cheetahs don't roar. Cheetahs can't roar, but they can purr, meow, hiss, bark, and growl instead. This type of behavior is much like the domestic cats we keep in our homes. One man once survived 2 atomic bombs. Tsutomu Yamaguchi survived both nuclear attacks to Japan when the US dropped atomic bombs during World War II. Cows kill more Americans each year than sharks do. While sharks account for about 53 bites per year, only one of those ends up being fatal. Cows, on the other hand, or hoof, kill around 20 people per year. For 100 years, maps have shown an island that doesn't exist. James Cook discovered it in 1774, and it began appearing on nautical maps in 1908. It wasn't until 2012, when a team of Australian scientists set out to survey the island, that they discovered there was no island there at all. Harriet Tubman was even more heroic than you thought. Harriet Tubman was a former slave who became a political activist for the abolition movement. During the Civil War, she was the first woman to lead an armed assault. She planned and executed a number of raids, and was known to carry a revolver for personal protection. In Germany, people help toads cross the road. They like to protect their frogs, toads, and other amphibians. In order to save them from harm when crossing the street, conservation organizations installed more than 800 fences along popular roadways. Many languages have the same roots. English, Portuguese, Latvian, Pashto, and Greek all sound very different today, but these languages all have a common ancestor called Proto-Indo-European. Though we don't have any written examples of it, linguists have worked backwards from a variety of modern languages to try to reconstruct it. Mr. Cherry breaks all the records you've never heard of. Japan's record breaker for most records broken is Cherry Yoshitake. Mr. Cherry set 1-minute records for the most pairs of underwear pulled on, 36, the most baked beans eaten, 71, and the most apples bobbed, 37. Napoleon Bonaparte was once attacked by thousands of rabbits. Napoleon's chief of staff organized a rabbit hunt to celebrate. Thousands of rabbits were brought in to be set loose, but instead of hopping away when the cages were opened, they turned to attack, swarming the partygoers. Newborns don't have kneecaps. Babies actually technically do have kneecaps when they are born. Those knees just aren't hardened yet, and remain soft cartilage throughout their childhood until they eventually turn into bone. One man was once constipated for nearly 2 months. In 1965, 26-year-old Angus Barbieri, who weighed 456 pounds, was put on a fasting program. On a strict regimen of multivitamins and minerals, Barbieri got his nutrients without eating a scrap of food, which resulted in nearly 2 months of constipation. Pluto technically isn't even a year old. Pluto was discovered on February 18, 1930. It takes 248 Earth years for Pluto to complete one rotation of its own around the Sunday. This places Pluto's first birthday since its discovery on Monday, March 23, 2178. Saudi Arabia imports camels from Australia. Australia originally had camels imported to be used for transporting heavy loads or for riding. They were let loose when their work was done, causing an unwanted spike in their population. Australians then sold the camels back to desert-based countries like Saudi Arabia. Sharks can live for 5 centuries. Researchers did carbon dating on a Greenland shark that was caught in 2014 and found it to be around 392 years old. Some planets produce diamond rain. Scientists discovered that Saturn and Jupiter are gas giant planets, while there are plenty of carbon in these atmospheres. When carbon soot gets hit by lightning, it hardens into graphite and falls downward, where the pressure hardens it further, until it becomes a diamond. The Australian government banned the word mate for a day. In 2005, Australian Parliament banned anyone on their staff from using the word mate while at work. Fortunately, Prime Minister John Howard objected, claiming that mate was an important part of Australian culture, and the ban was overturned within 24 hours. The cast of Friends still earns around $20 million each year. Since the much-loved TV show still pulls in around $1 billion of revenue, Courtney Cox, David Schwimmer, Jennifer Aniston, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, and Matthew Perry all make major dough each year for doing, well, nothing. $20 million is the estimate. The Comic Sans font came from an actual comic book. The font was designed by Vincent Connar, who drew direct inspiration from his favorite comic books, including Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' celebrated Watchmen series. The majority of Americans choose dogs over love. A 2017 study from Rover.com conducted over 3 years found that 54% of dog owners are willing to end a relationship if their pup doesn't like their partner. The man who wrote Dracula never visited Transylvania. Bram Stoker was an Irish author who is now best remembered for his gothic horror novel Dracula. Despite Stoker's many world travels, he never visited Eastern Europe, and, by virtue, Transylvania at all. There's an entire town under a rock. Setnil de las Bodegas in Spain, where homes are built right into the rock. It provides so much shelter that historians think this area has been occupied by human settlement since the Stone Age. Tornadoes can cause fish rain. Tornadoes can develop over water just as well as they can over land. When they do, they are called waterspouts, and they suck up large amounts of lake or sea water, as well as whatever's swimming in that water. Comment down below which facts amazed you. I hope you could apply these facts in the future. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.